Captain, my captain.
Film Club.
He did. He absolutely did the Truman Show.
I also did Master and Commander. That's a decent film.
Thank you very much for joining us, episode of Film Club. I'm one of your hosts, Andy Harrison. To my right, as always, it's either the Master or the Commander, Annie Donaldson.
It's Master and Commander, by the way.
Every single week in Film Club, we invite you along to watch a film with us. We dive into some of cinema's best before coming back here to talk it out. Andy, this week, we looked at the Dead Poets Society.
Yeah, oh my god, I've been meaning to watch this for fucking ages, like years. I don't know why I've never got around to watching it.
Yep, I know, it's been on my list, and it's one that keeps coming up in terms of people like referencing it and mentioning it and calling to it. And give us a rundown. If someone's never heard of Dead Poets Society, what's the overview?
There's a private school, so much like, if you're British, Eton Mess, isn't it? Much like Eton, so it's a boarding school, prestigious, and the idea is it's like paves the way for people to go to like the top, like Harvard and stuff like that. So, you know, high caliber of staff. And it's a bunch of kids are going. I think it's the last year, or they're only there for 1 year. My point is, they're going and they're made, they make friends, but they're made to suffer like the boring kind of like you do this, you do that with class, and then they meet a teacher by Robin Williams who does English, but he not just doesn't do English. He does well, in this case, he does poetry, but it's more philosophy. So it's the idea this film goes about these kids learning philosophy, be unique, be individuals and everything. And this film goes through a bunch of kids and their teachings by Robin Williams' character, by John Keating. And eventually it culminates into a rather unusual, pretty dark ending. But from going forward from there, it's people actually find themselves. It's almost like a coming-of-age film, but done exceptionally well in a drama that's very kind of quite deep. And we had the pleasure of watching this in each other's company.
Yeah, I think although it has a lot of like posturizing on the ideas of philosophy and poetry and whatnot, I like that a lot of it boils down to its interpersonal relationship still between like all the cast of the young boys.
You look at the start,
as well as Robin Williams.
We look at the start and like you see this group of boys and you think, oh, you got to the club and you go, who's this guy, sort of thing. They go from like potentially, you know, you got the guys that are cool guys and they don't really want to speak to so and so, who turns out to be what's his name, Ethan Hawke, who plays Todd Anderson. And Todd's a bit of a loner. He's like this, and they get him in, and eventually they all come like really close, and he's like all the different names. One of those to mention is what's his name? Oh, I'll come back to it. Charlie Dalton, so done by Gail Hansen. He's the one that says, "Oh, call me so and so." He has the tattoo in his chest.
Yeah.
So he comes across like a bit like kind of almost arrogant at the start. Or I got that impression. Then at the end, he's like one of the ones that's like, "Come on, you know, it's come together," which I thought was awesome.
Yeah, he's kind of the one that embraces the whole ethos probably the most.
Exactly, and it's brilliant, well done. And then obviously you got Robin Williams behind it. It's a very subdued performance in terms of him. He has those little moments where he's doing impressions, which are fantastic, by the way.
Comes out like the film came out like the late 80s,
89,
and the 80s. Robin Williams, I guess early 90s is when he's really trying to like redefine his career as an actor. And he's trying to get away from like the comedic stuff, and he's trying to become a serious actor. So when you get like Good Will Hunting, and whatnot like that. But this, I think, is I wouldn't fault anybody that was like, this is my favorite Robin Williams performance, because this is Robin Williams like really. Not even dialed down to like, if you have a scale of Robin Williams from 1 to 10, he's like right at a 1.
Like comedic value we're talking about here.
Yeah, I mean like in terms of the energy he brings to a film, and I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean it in quite a impressive way. Because Robin Williams, it's really easy for him to like engage an audience. Really easy for him to grab someone's attention by being crazy Robin Williams and doing like tons of impressions and stuff.
A really good example is Whose Line Is It Anyway? And he just absolutely breaks the show.
And he will burn through material at 1,000 miles an hour, but he's always got plenty of material to work with. Here, he's way more restrained and way more subtle in his performance.
I know, it's so good. But then you also have like the quirkiness that he brings to the table that is comes down to John Keating's character. Like when he walks through, he's just whistling. He's like, "Come on, you come in like this." At the start of the film, and it's just like it's that kind of like magic of Robin Williams that kind of like brings you on as a viewer, brings you on board and brings you through.
Yep, I think he is not perfect in this film.
Yeah, I was like, the whole film, despite obviously what happens towards the end as well, it's just it brings me happiness. Like I don't know, I'm a bit annoyed I hadn't seen this earlier. Well, fucking loved it.
It's a funny little like story as well between what happened with Robin Williams and Ethan Hawke on set. You heard this?
No.
So Ethan Hawke thought that Robin Williams really didn't like him because Robin
Oh,
Williams.
that really helps with the film.
Well, apparently, in between like takes, Robin Williams was being Robin Williams. He was playing things up for laughs. He was trying to like get everybody to laugh at his jokes and things. At the time, Ethan Hawke was a young actor who was wanting to be taken very, very seriously. So he wasn't joking around with the other people. He was like trying to be a serious actor. And what would happen was like he'd kind of like become the butt of the joke a lot of the time in between takes, and then as soon as the cameras start rolling and you go into the scenes, sometimes he becomes the butt of the joke in the scenes as well. So he kind of left feeling like, well, Ron Williams is a bit of a dick, and like I didn't really enjoy working with him. Anyway, cut to after this film comes out, and Robin Williams has his agent phone up Ethan Hawke, and he's like, "Oh, Robin was immensely impressed with you on set, and he's requested that I sign you on because he sees that you are like you're going to be one of the next actors, one of the next great actors, and he thinks I should come and sign you on." So that's how Ethan Hawke got his very first
what major role?
What's one agent. So he got his very first agent, who apparently still works for him today.
No way.
Still the same person.
No way. So this is the Ethan Hawke that we ended up filming a review a while back called Boyhood. Unbelievable. And Ethan Hawke was a big part of that project.
He's so good.
Directed by
Richard Linklater.
Yeah, Linklater. So Ethan Hawke's very good collaborator with him, the Before trilogy and stuff like that. So you look at Ethan Hawke's career and what he's actually achieved in terms of like that incredible feat that is Boyhood and the Before trilogy, and that kind of stemmed from Robin Williams. Well, not just stem, but like that was a big.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely put the work in here.
Yeah.
Like Ethan Hawke is a great.
He's fantastic
in the film. He has that heartbreaking scene where he's trying to deal with the death of Neil.
Yeah,
and he ends up just like running off into the snow,
which is a great scene.
It's a wonderful scene. They all play it so well. It reminds me a lot of the dynamic in something like.
Stand By Me.
Stand By Me, thank you. That's exactly where I was going with that.
So it was Robert Sean Leonard, who I seem to recognise. Looked a bit like a very young Jim Carrey at points.
A lot like Jim Carrey.
Yeah, so I was like, I recognise him so much. He was incredible.
Yeah,
he was
absolutely
he's sensational.
Because he brings like an energy and a sort of like.
But in many ways.
He's the reason you can believe these kids would actually get involved with a lot of this stuff. It's because of him and Rwanda or whatever he ends up calling himself.
Wow. So you mentioned that scene about Ethan Hawke, Todd running into the thing. So my notes, I made some notes, are the sheer incredible camera of this film.
The sheer incredible camera. Fuck me, that sentence.
Camera work. Then. There are so many good moments. Like my days. I remember going through this film and thinking, this is fucking awesome. There's some standout moments I hope you put here. So the woods at night where they're running through and it's ghostly and it's fog and it's like the guys run away and silhouetted, and I was just like, I was going through like that. And I also like they got the camera going in and out through the trees, a bit like when we were talking about Rashomon, where Kira Kurosawa did it.
Yep.
So you got that. You got a different scene, which is the bicycle down the hill with the geese. Yep. How the fuck do you even direct that with all the geese there? Like, it must have been like a one-take shot or something.
Yep.
Like, what an incredible shot.
Absolutely stunning.
Right, and then you got the bagpipes in the morning, where again it's like just this lovely panorama, this amazing scene with the bagpipes, and again kind of like that fog, that dew, and everything like that. And I'm like there going, oh my god, this is amazing.
Yep.
And in amongst all this, there's a really good moment where towards the later part of the film, where someone's talking. I think it's when they're doing the speeches, the poem. Sorry. But the movement, the camera movement, it's always circling around the people of Robin Williams.
Yeah.
Makes you feel a part of it, and then also like you're in that presence in the scene.
Makes him close his eyes and
he
circles
that's
around.
Yeah, because it's Todd, isn't it? That's
stunning.
It. And the camera's going around, and I'm there thinking, oh my god,
it's an absolutely gorgeous film, and it's one that really lives in its seasons too. Because obviously it frames itself throughout this academic year, and throughout the academic year, as the seasons start to change, we get that reflected in a lot of the color choices in the film. Particularly the big one that everyone kind of associates the look of this film with is like that autumnal sort of oranges and yellows and sort of leaves falling off the trees. And then as we pass through into what's his name's Suicide, we're also passing through into winter, which is a wonderful visual representation of like the journey that these characters go on. And it also lends itself to like using that like stark white contrasty stuff, which is just gorgeous.
John Seal is the name of the cinematographer. Did stuff like Rain Man. He did The English Patient. He actually did Man Back's Fury Road, believe it or not. So
That is strange.
I know, because you're on about the colour grade in that film that you didn't like.
Horrible.
Well, there you go. So he's been involved quite a few big things. And then in amongst all those scenes, you just got this amazing soundtrack that goes over it. So I'm there and I'm like, oh my god, this music, the transition scenes one to the other, again like the bagpipes and stuff like that, is just absolutely incredible. It's just the amount of effort gone into it, and the way it's just come out. It's just.
I don't remember the soundtrack.
Well, it's like a score as opposed to like music. It's just. It blew me away. It blew me away. I was trying to see if I can get the guy.
I'm gonna have to give it another listen because that's one thing that, to me, I'm not gonna criticize. I'm not gonna say it's got a bad score. I don't remember it right now. I am pretty bad for remembering music sometimes, but I'll probably go back and take a little look.
So it was Maurice Jarre who ended up doing Ghost and Lawrence of Arabia. So
okay, yeah, both of those have pretty great soundtracks as well.
Yep.
So overall, I think it's a really fantastic coming of age film. We've actually had this funny sort of repetition of doing a couple of coming of age films recently.
Yeah, the Breakfast Club and stuff like that.
Which this totally stands like neck and neck with, because it's 30 years old at this point. But you watch it and it's still immensely relatable in lots of ways.
Yep.
It's something similar to when we were talking about the Breakfast Club that taps into a very common experience, which is weird given that it happens at like this fancy pants border school. Where it's all boys. And like weirdly it still manages to tap into whatever that innate human experience of having your mind opened up by a group of people, some experiences and I guess one particularly inspiring lecturer.
And obviously finding one's identity, one of the main focus of this film.
Yeah. And obviously now there's like generations of people who associate the phrase like, oh, Captain, my Captain, and Carpe Diem with this film. Not even from the original poetry. I can't tell you what the original poem was. Nor
can I.
No.
Although it was, what's his name? Henry David Thoreau, who helped influence the Dead Poets Society, Walden.
That is Dead Poets Society. You can let us know in the comments below what you thought of the Dead Poets Society, or you can hit us up on Twitter, as always. But Andy and I are going to be back once again next week. Where, Andy, next week it's Halloween.
Oh, shit.
Get ready for The Exorcist.
Oh, shit.
Till then, get watching.
Nice.